Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from Trapped in Bath and says, I, 24 female, am currently trapped in my boyfriend's 26 male bathroom in lingerie and nervous to go out. Oh, what a title. Okay, hear me out because this is pretty embarrassing. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 2 years now, and things are great, but we haven't had sex in 9 months now due to his stress levels and a bit of depression. He had almost no libido. I've tried initiating sex, but I've been rejected constantly. I'm on the verge of just giving up. So I bought some really nice lingerie that he heard about a few months ago, and given how nice a time we've been having, I decided to try again tonight. So that's why I'm currently in the bathroom wearing lingerie. I want to go out and see what happens, but I don't know if I can handle a no again. Should I go out and try again for some sexy times? I can just change into something normal and nothing would happen, which means a normal evening, but I really crave that intimacy with him. So the top commenter said to OP, this is probably a bad idea. You put yourself in a no-win situation unless he responds the way you want him to. Something is up with a 26-year-old man not having sex for 9 months. Is the medication killing his libido? If so, he needs to talk to a doctor about it. Unless you want to be in a sexless relationship, something on his end needs to change, and you need to tell him that. Opie says his medication did kill his libido, but he got medication to help with that. But it really hasn't changed anything. He doesn't instigate and puts things off. I'm on vacation with him the entire week, and anytime I've mentioned having a little fun in bed, he tells me we have all week. I miss the guy who couldn't keep his hands off me. The tree with a towel says, if you go out in lingerie and it's a complete surprise to him and he's been feeling stressed out and particularly depressed, it may overwhelm him and he may just say no. Maybe go out in normal, cute pajamas and casually initiate sex. Don't build it up to be this big thing that could overwhelm him. Be casual, but sexy. If you guys do have sex and it's great, break out the lingerie the next time. Opie says you're right. I didn't think it'd be a surprise since I've been hinting at it and he's done a few of his usual things throughout the day that always lead to sex. But I don't want to find out I was misreading him. I'm just going to change. Opie says, you guys are right. I'm changing into some regular pajamas. To be honest, I don't know if I can handle another rejection, even if I'm not supposed to take it badly. It's just too much for me. Torch Black says, then you honestly need to talk to him about how much it's damaging your relationship. He needs to make a conscious effort to get back to a place where sex is normal, whether that's going to a therapist or talking to his doctor more. There are likely other options he hasn't pursued yet. And I'll be totally honest, I feel absolutely bad for both of them in this situation, both OP and the boyfriend, because as someone who's been on depression meds myself, I know how they feel, and obviously they affect people in different ways at the same time. And if he's going through something that's taken him to the point of being on depression medication, then he needs to look after himself. But also for the girlfriend in this, I get where she's coming from too. Being constantly rejected and wanting that closeness to him that at this moment in time he can't provide must be absolutely devastating, and likely her own mental health at the same time. I don't know if it's the right thing to say incompatibility. It kind of felt like that as I was saying it, but with everything involved, I don't know if that's the right wording around this. But OP did come in 3 weeks later and said, hi Reddit. After my original post and your advice, I changed back into my normal lounging clothes and went back out into the open like nothing had happened. My plan was to go on with the night and just wait and see what happened. But I ended up bringing up the issue of not having sex for 9 months with my boyfriend. He admitted he didn't even realize it had been that long. He had been so stressed with work and life and the depression killing his libido that he hadn't even thought about having sex with me at all. It just wasn't even something that was a part of his thinking process. That hurt a lot. So I asked him if he even found me attractive at all. He scoffed at that and said that he's always found me very beautiful and attractive, but he feels useless because his libido is shot because of his depression medication. Finally, I brought up that his doctor did give him a prescription to help with that, and there he admitted he didn't even bring it with him. After all this, I let him know we have similar issues. I may not be in school, but I manage a business and that's stressful as heck, and I've dealt with depression all my life. But ultimately, sex is one of the ways I express my love for him, and it's really important to me. He listened to me and apologized, saying that he did want to, and he definitely tried to make sure we spend some intimate time together during our time off. Tonight was off the table, and I went off to bed early because frankly I was really upset and needed to be alone. The rest of the week went smoothly. We went out, we dined at restaurants, and we had fun together, but nothing really happened, and the entire time I could only think about how lonely and frustrated I was. I felt more like a friend than a girlfriend. The week after that, and still nothing really happened, and ultimately that's when I said I had enough. I had given my boyfriend the opportunity to initiate with me and tried to take what I said seriously to him, and nothing had changed. One night I went over to him and told him what I needed to say, as painful as it was to me. On Reddit, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I broke up with him in tears. This was the man I had plans to start a family with, to marry and love him for the rest of my life. But I couldn't do it anymore. I laid it all out to him during that vacation about how important sex was to me and how his rejections made me feel. He'd promised to try something, and nothing had happened. I couldn't do it anymore. He started crying and promised he'd do anything to keep me with him, but I told him it was too late. This wasn't a couple of months of rejection. It's been nearly a year, and frankly, this wasn't the first time we spoke about it either. There was always it'd get better. It never did. I've blocked him everywhere because I can't take seeing his name pop up. I know if I take a message from him, I'll want to go back to him. I still can't stop crying when I think about him, and it's been almost 2 weeks. I miss him dearly, but I couldn't take it anymore. A commenter said, not having sex for 9 months? Good grief. Nobody can blame you here. Incompatibility is a dead end. Commenter says, yeah, I'm going on 3 months, and that alone stresses me out as a newlywed. I can't imagine 9. I don't think I'd let it get that far. Commenter says, I think you ultimately made the right choice as hard as it was/is. You gave him ample opportunities to address the problems, and it just doesn't seem like he was able to do that. Good luck to you in healing and moving on. Yeah, absolutely, I don't blame Opie in this situation for checking out of that relationship, like some of the commenters were saying again, incompatibility. And that's absolutely the case in this situation. One thing did jump out to me, and I'm not sure if I'm 100% correct, I don't know all the medications in the world, but the doctor had prescribed something to help with his libido issue. I was assuming Viagra or something like that, or some kind of equivalent, which, might get certain things working, but it doesn't actually create that connection, does it? It doesn't really bring back the libido, the mental side of the intimacy. So I kind of felt like he had a prescription line was kind of a bit on the offside. But again, I don't blame Opie in this situation. It just comes down to, like keep saying, the incompatibility in my opinion. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Typical Science 241 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit. And it says, am I the arsehole here for having a newspaper subscription when I don't read the newspaper? This feels really dumb, but I'd like some thoughts from people unrelated to the situation. I have a subscription to a local newspaper. I don't do it to read the news. I do it to get the crossword puzzle and the word find in the back. I've been doing these puzzles almost every day since I was a child, with my dad initially, and then on my own once I moved out. If I can't finish it myself, I'll give it to my dad, who lives close by, to help me out. I have a few binders with all these puzzles stored in them and dated. My boyfriend hates this. He doesn't understand why I can't do them for free on an app or website. I like having the physical thing in front of me, and my dad would never be able to help on an electronic. Or get a book with a bunch and just do that. I could, but it's still not the same. I'm not wasting the rest of the newspaper, by the way. I take it to work with me and wrap up fragile products with it. My boyfriend recently saw the bill for the paper, and he's extremely upset that I'm wasting so much money on something he sees as useless, even though it's my own money and it's special to me. I suppose the money could go to something else, but I don't want to stop doing my puzzles. He's accusing me of being unwilling to compromise, which I guess I kind of am. Am I the arsehole here if I don't stop my subscription? Now, let's face it, it's like a lot of stories that we read. The issue here isn't the newspaper, isn't the subscription. It's your boyfriend with his entitlement thinking he can have an opinion on how you spend your own money on something that doesn't affect him at all. You know, everything you said about this, a small, affordable subscription that means a lot to you and to your dad, and I imagine is a part of your bonding process at the same time. Any wasted paper is getting repurposed at work and you're spending your own money. You know, you don't need to justify any of this to him, but I do wonder why he thinks he can control that part of it. But Peak Penguin says not the arsehole. Quoting, he's accusing me of being unwilling to compromise, which I guess I kind of am, and then says there's absolutely no reason you should need to compromise here. This isn't hurting him. You should both be allowed to spend money on things you enjoy, even if some people find them worthless. It's your money after all, right? Opie says, it is my money. I never ask him to help pay for a hobby that's exclusively mine. Pete Penguin says that my issue here is that when he says you won't compromise, what he means is you won't obey. Interesting Cole says, you're not the arsehole. You're subscribing to something you love, and you're enjoying to do it in a way that reminds you of great times from the past. You're putting money back into your local community. Your paper is kept in circulation, which means people have jobs. I support you. Opie comes in 3 weeks later and says, updates to quote a comment on the original post. I kept newspapers and cancelled my boyfriend's subscription. Top one. Some of the comments made me seriously think about our relationship and some of the things he said in the past. He has an extremely bad relationship with his family, and looking back, it's painfully obvious that he's been jealous of how close I am with mine. I ended up deciding that I didn't want someone in my life who would resent me or my parents for not being miserable. And to be honest, I don't think I love him enough to push for therapy and wait for him to work on himself for that to be stopped being a concern, assuming it ever did. I ended up breaking up with him a few days ago, over an argument involving Valentine's plans. I'm currently getting ready to sell the tickets we had for tonight too. All that to say, I appreciate people who took the time to talk to me about this a few weeks ago. It really helped. Happy Valentine's Day. And commenter said on that one, I kept the newspapers and cancelled my boyfriend's subscription is such an elite line, honestly. Horror Lover says, newspaper games are forever. Boyfriends are not. Another commenter says, good thing she hasn't subscribed for the lifetime plan yet. Bushy Shrew says, sounds like the boyfriend would not have rested until he made your relationship with your family match his with his own. Smart move to realize this sooner and cancel that man. Good for you, OP. Well done, you. That did make me chuckle when she kept the newspapers and cancelled the boyfriend subscription. It did have me wondering as we're going into the update, I wonder what other things are in the background, because there's always more, right? And OP clearly felt that as well. But what do you guys make of this situation? It was never about the newspaper, right? Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Appropriate Gate 3877 and says high school sweetheart husband cheated, less than a year married. I, female 28, just found out my husband, 28 male of 11 months, who is my high school sweetheart, been together 10 years, cheated on me with his co-worker, 51 female, who's married with 2 children. I found out last night he developed a crush for her over the last 4 months and cheated on me 2 months ago. They work closely together and have team outings multiple times per year. They went on a walk together after a heated day at work, and he claimed she kissed him. He said to her that it wasn't a good idea since they were both married. Fast forward to a week later, they went on a walk and it happened again, and she tried to hold his hand. According to him, nothing more has happened. He claims that it's because he has mummy issues. He's been in therapy weekly for the last 6 to 8 months. This is the one thing I've told him to never do to me, as I've seen my parents go through it and know how shitty it will get. I'm disappointed in him and have no idea where to start. We don't have kids, but we do own a home. And to make things better, we just put my dog down 2 weeks ago. I've always told him if he ever cheated, 1,000,000 times, I couldn't have been more clear, that I would be out and moving on. I don't know where to start. I need help. Well, I think OP's last line pretty much said it all really, that if he cheated, you told him 1,000,000 times that you'd be moving out and moving on. And I think that's all there is to it, right? It is what it is says your last sentence says all there needs to say. You can't be with a cheater. You told him a million times and he didn't care. Girlby says not only that, but he put himself in situations to cheat and he's acting like he had no control over what happened. He's only telling you part of the truth because he's putting most of the blame on the co-worker, not himself. Ooh, we could be going down a little trickle truthing route, right? New Arrival says, beware of 3 things. An attempt at damage control by getting the full truth, bits and pieces at a time. Whatever he says happened, almost certainly more happened. Workplace affairs. The workplace provides a great many ways to hide both electronic and physical contact, and to nurture an affair even after it's discovered. Until he goes 100% verifiable no contact, and that includes no longer working with his affair partner, then the affair is continuing to simmer, just being hidden better. You can't count on his story that she pursued him as being the truth. Ask to see proof from their communications. Start by seeing a lawyer and getting the divorce process underway. If you want to try and work this out, tell him you will consider reconciliation after he changes jobs, confesses to this woman's spouse, and gets an individual counseling for his betrayal and marriage counseling for the 2 of you. Honestly though, if you don't have kids, just imagine 5 years from now, being divorced and watching him and this woman try and set up a family that involves his time with your kid. Selling a house is painful but temporary. It may be time for you to keep your word, to get out and move on. So it was a year later that OP came in with an update and said 1 year update. It has been the craziest year of my life. A year ago, my 29 female husband, 29 male, confessed to cheating on me with his 50-year-old co-worker. He told me they had only kissed and he stuck with that story for several weeks. I thought I could move past that and try to reconcile. 6 weeks later, I questioned more and he confessed to sleeping with her on several occasions. He wanted to save face. My entire world felt like it had shattered and I knew deep down I wasn't going to stay. I filed for divorce in April of 2025 and we're still not divorced. February 20th is our official divorce day. Update on the mistress. Her husband and I spoke several times when this initially happened. He loves her and chose to stay. However, I have no idea if they're still together or not. Update on my ex. He has a girlfriend and I still have an active restraining order on him. My ex turned into a completely horrible human. I don't even recognize him. I dealt with harassment and domestic violence. Not physical, to the point where I needed to get a restraining order. The biggest letdown was his family. I've learned that it doesn't matter if you spent 10 plus years of holidays and birthdays together. They are there for him, not me, even when I wasn't the bad guy. That was a tough pill to swallow, but thankfully I have an amazing support system. Looking back, I'm so thankful this happened. Despite how painful and difficult it has been, I'm genuinely so glad this happened before I had kids or grew old with him. Everything truly does happen for a reason. I'm a young, resilient woman with so much to offer to this world. If this never happened, I would have stayed with him because of our beautiful story and relationship. I've taken the time to reflect and consistently go to therapy. This was his problem, not mine. There are so many things I settled for when in reality, I should have never accepted. I grew up and he never did. I took 2 leaves of absence initially because I was deeply depressed and distraught by everything. I took 2 solo trips during this time and enjoyed it to the fullest. I've gone on dates and explored the world of dating apps. Now I'm strictly focusing on myself and prioritizing time with friends and family. A few things that have been shared to me have stuck with me. Traumas that you haven't healed through can bleed into your relationships. Why live with a decision you made at 17? Trickle truth is real. 1 year to process, 1 year to adjust, and 1 year to start living. I look forward to starting the year to adjust and accomplishing all my goals and meet so many new people. The journey is so difficult, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. Time truly does heal, and faith has brought me a lot of peace. People were talking to OP in the comments and OP was replying. Retired says, how awful. I'm glad you cut your losses and got out. Chin up. Here's someone else's problem now. OP says, dodged a major bullet. Dark Orchid says, happy for you that you have a support system and no kid. I have a kid. My family and support system is on the other coast in another country. I got a protection order against him. No job, and I'd need certification for most jobs unless they accept my Canadian diplomas. He's purposely grieving me by not working, making our med insurance lapse, filing motions to cost more in legal fees, etc. I can't wait to be free and on my feet. The protection order got me some peace and I'm generally calmer. Seeing your story gives me hope. Thanks for sharing. Were you nervous when you were filing for your restraining order? Because it wasn't physical abuse. I felt that way, but luckily my idiot ex finally admitted to abusing the family dog. I might have gotten the order for other reasons, but that cemented everything. It really sucks to have to let a kid go spend time with his messed up dad. Opie says, I'm sorry you're going through this. I never in a million years thought I'd file a restraining order against him. It was a result of a series of his actions, and the last thing he did was extremely inappropriate. My safety was at risk and I needed to protect myself. Unfortunately, you have to pay the price for peace. It's incredibly expensive and emotionally draining, but worth it. I have no regrets other than not calling the police when he violated the order. I was trying to protect him from having a misdemeanor on his record, which would show on future employer background checks. His mental health during this period was at a low, so I weighed the options and ended up dealing with bullshit to protect him. It's not worth compromising your peace. Focus on you and your child. Nothing else matters, and things do get better. Dark Orchid replies in, I agree. I will not protect my ex. So far I've just defended and deflected, but I think I will eventually strike back. Like in your story, his family turned, and instead of his mum being the responsible person I knew, who called him out on stuff, she began excusing his every behavior. They tried to stop me from rehoming the dog he abused but were unsuccessful. Her being in a happy forever home also gives me hope. Does your ex have to undergo DV treatment? I heard it barely makes a difference. Opie says, in my case we agreed on an end date for the restraining order to avoid having a judge decide. I wish I maxed it out. As far as his family and how they reacted, in therapy I've learned that you have to understand why they're making the decisions they're making. You only know what you know. How you handle problems generally is how you will apply that to future problems. In this case, brushing things to the side is how they handled problems. Another thing my therapist said was that as a parent, when you learn that your child has done something awful to someone else, sometimes you have no words and are in shock, and that saying nothing may be in their best mind to avoid creating more conflict. It's shitty. Lean into your support system. And one more commenter who says, brighter days are ahead. My cousin just finished getting out of a situation like this. He was her abuser, a mental tormentor, and was 1000% worse when they were divorcing. They were high school sweethearts and he was the only man she was ever with. Now she's free from him and moving back to the East Coast to be with family. I'm so happy for her. She's really having a glow up. But just pray you have your happy ending coming soon too. Opie says, unfortunately, you divorce a completely different person than who you married. It's a difficult thing to experience. Glad to hear your cousin is in a much better place. I'm so looking forward to the future. I think it's always incredibly scary when we see these stories of, childhood sweethearts that grow up, get married, etc. And then we see that they break up and they become a completely different person. That is terrifying, isn't it? But it sounds like Opie is absolutely thriving at this moment. She's taken solo trips, she's in therapy, she's dating. And what she said about the sort of framework that her therapist gave her, like the 1 year to process, 1 year to adjust, and 1 year to start living. It sounds like, she's stepping into year 2 now, is it? And where she is right now, it looks a lot better than where she started, right? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.